Hello, I'm Mike and this is Will. We are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And we're looking at issue 26 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer magazine today. This issue came with 2 new paints, a Khorne red base paint and Gryph-hound orange contrast paint. And in today's game we'll be learning some more command abilities, this time for the charge phase. So we do have quite a lot of lore to get through in this issue. First up we have background on 3 of the elven factions of Age of Sigmar, starting up for the Lumineth Realm Lords. So these are elves who hail from the Realm of Light. They once had a vast empire, but after a civil war nearly brought them to the brink of destruction. They have since dedicated themselves to lives of learning and discipline. So they fight with the same ruthless order with which they live, the same dedication. So you have the various elven forces that are boosted by a substance known as ether quartz, and they fight alongside powerful wizards and various elemental spirits. A little bit of background on the twin gods of the Lumineth, Teclis and Tyrion, the brother gods of light. So the more warlike elves are more drawn to the more combative Tyrion, while the wizards prefer the archmage Teclis. And you can see an example of one of the spirits of Hysh, that's a Velenor, a mountain spirit, but there are also various wind spirits and other ones that can join the Lumineth in battle. And then a little bit on ether quartz, which is sort of raw light drawn from Hysh, which the elves carry into battle with in little flasks, and they can imbibe it to increase their reflexes or magical abilities and so on. And it's also used for guidance with their ranged users, such as archers or their ballistae. And then background on the Daughters of Cain. So we've learned a bit about Morathi earlier on. These elves are created from the spirits that were stolen from Slaanesh. They have a fierce hatred of chaos and are dedicated to wiping it out and shedding blood in their goddess's name. And they are formed into various covens, and though some might doubt their loyalty to the forces of order, they are loyal at the moment. So you can see there they're organised into covens of blood, with their own various rites and rituals in the way they shed blood. And a bit on Morathi Cain we've learned about before, and then some Daughters of Cain, seeing as they're drawn from a chaos god, some of them have odd mutations, like some of them are more sort of Medusa-like. The Melusai have snake-like bodies. And finally the Idoneth Deepkin. These are also elves. These ones dwell in the oceans of the mortal realms, and they are afflicted with a terrible curse that causes their souls to wither away, so they have to survive by capturing victims with souls and sacrificing them to regain some of their life force. And there is a strict hierarchy based on the wealth of an individual's soul. So we have the sort of lower classes of Namati, as well as the upper classes of the Achilleans. And even though these are soul-stealing elven pirates, essentially, they are also aligned with the forces of order. And they go alongside various underwater beasts. And a little bit about their soul raids at the bottom as they gather the souls of their victims. And that's all the lore on elves. Time for some lore on Gork and Morka, the twin-headed god of destruction. So they're made up of Gork, who is brutal but cunning, and Mork, who is cunning but brutal. And sometimes they can actually fight amongst each other and split them. Sometimes Gork and Morka can split in two because they're opposing little ideologies. And a bit on Gordrak there, the Fist of Gork, the most powerful megaboss of the Iron Jaws, which the forces of destruction are sort of naturally drawn to for his destructive prowess. And there's some more backstory on Gork and Morka during the Age of Myth. So they were allied. Sigmar fought them in a duel and gained their allegiance, so that alliance has long since broken. And they went to war with various god beasts or large beasts, including Behemat, who was also subdued by Sigmar. And the power of Gork and Morka is very unpredictable. Gork and Morka doesn't really create plots like the other gods might do. It just wants their followers to go out and destroy things. And sometimes this sort of raw power of destruction actually creates these strange idols, like that rogue idol there. Sort of the raw force of destruction animates the land. And now we have background on Dawnbringer crusades. So every city of Sigmar is created as a result of a Dawnbringer crusade. And so you can roll on some background tables here to give a background for the forces of order from your collection. So you have background here on what city is going to be established. And then on the next page you can roll to see what makes up the majority of the crusade population and where they come from and so on. And then there's a background here for a war. So this is a gathering of the forces of destruction, or particularly the Oryx and Grots. And once again, you can roll for the background on the forces of destruction for this collection, so you can see what has incited this particular war and what makes up the majority of the population. And then we have a very short painting guide. We're only going over the use of Khorne red in this issue. We'll have to wait for Gryph Charger orange and a later one. So just doing some details on the Lord Aquilor and the Knight Arcanum. So it's an Knight Arcanum's book, the cover of it, and then the plumage and the hooves and claws for the Lord Aquilor's Gryph Charger. And then a few details on the Cruel Boys. So that's the flights of the bolts for the Bolt Boys, and then various ropes on the Hobgrots and also Crookgrin, don't forget him. And now I'll hand it over to Will so he can teach us some new rules and get into today's game.
And in this issue we cover some more of the core rules. So first of all we have the shooting phase, which is exactly as we've been playing it previously, but there is an additional rule to add in here, which is called Look Out Sir. So when making a shooting attack, you refer to the section on attacks, which we haven't seen yet, but we know how that works. And then Look Out Sir means that if you make a shooting attack against an enemy hero that's within 3 inches of an enemy unit with three or more models, you have to subtract 1 from the hit roll, unless that hero has a wounds characteristic of 10 or more. Then we go on to the charge phase, which again works exactly as we have seen previously, making charge moves, finishing charges within half an inch of an enemy unit, but we now have 2 command abilities to use in the charge phase, so we'll have a look at those. We start with Forward to Victory, which is issued after you make a charge roll for a friendly unit, and that unit must be the one receiving the command, and you can re-roll the charge roll. And then Unleash Hell, which you can use after an enemy unit finishes a charge move. The unit receiving the command must be within 9 inches of that enemy unit and more than 3 inches from any other enemy units, i.e. not already engaged in melee, other than the one that just charged them potentially. The unit receiving the command can shoot in that phase with -1 to all hit rolls and can only target the unit making the charge move. And then over the page we have the combat phase. So starting off with the fight sequence, the player whose turn it is picks a unit to fight first, and then you alternate, but then officially what happens is if you run out of units then you have to pass. Once both players have passed, the fight phase ends, unless there's anything with strike last effects. We're going to learn about that in a second. It mentions pile-in moves, which we learnt about in the tutorial, but here pile-in moves are up to 3 inches with a model, and it must finish the move no further from the nearest enemy unit than it was at the start of the move. And then when making attacks, we again refer to the attacks section, which we have not yet had, but it's as we have been playing anyway. And then there's a box here about something called Strike First and Strike Last effects, which basically do what you expect them to. A unit with a Strike First effect strikes first in the phase, and then a unit strikes last in the phase. It means that everything with Strike First strikes before the normal sequence of picking, then the usual normal units fight, and then things with Strike Last. If a unit has both effects, then they cancel out. And also it's worth pointing out that if you have a unit with Strike First, for example, you would fight with that unit, and then if it's your turn, and there's no more Strike First units, you would then pick the first unit to fight normally as well. And now we have a quick tutorial for Forward to Victory. So in this case the Lord Aquilor has failed his charge roll with a 3, needing to roll an 8, spends a command point for Forward to Victory, re-rolls it into a 9. And then for Unleash Hell, so in this example the Vindictors have charged these Gut Rippers, but the Bolt Boys are within range to use the Unleash Hell command ability, which they do shooting at the Vindictors, after they've made their charge move. And then we're on to our game. So apparently in the war in Ulgu, the Cruel Boys have actually been gaining the advantage over the Stormcast Eternals. They hold more territory and have been inflicting heavy losses, so the Stormcast Eternals are gambling on a devastating assault, deploying troops from the heavens to try and shatter the Cruel Boys' resistance. So for the Alliance of Order, we've got the Stormcast Eternals, and this is the entire Stormcast collection so far. And for the Forces of Destruction, we have, I think, everything except Manok and the Cunning Crew. So that's just the Swampcrawler Shaman, the Killer Boss, the Loon Boss, the 10 Hobgrots, 3 Bolt Boys, the Beast Skewer Killbow, 10 Gut Rippers, and the Maskcrawler Slogoth. And because of the way the scenario works, we have an unusual deployment. We have the Destruction Forces have the centre of the battlefield to deploy in, and order the Stormcast do not deploy any models at all at the start, because all of their units are actually deployed in the heavens using Scions of the Storm. The Stormcast do get the first turn, so they'll be deploying as much of their army as they like on the first turn. The game lasts for 5 battle rounds, or until every model in the Destruction army has been slain. But if there are any Cruel Boys units left on the battlefield at the end of the game, the Cruel Boys player wins, so presumably the Loon Boss doesn't count by the letter of that. And the Stormcast are unleashing a vast army, so whenever a Stormcast unit is destroyed, it can be immediately placed into reserves and then deployed with the Scions of the Storm battle trait at the end of the next Stormcast Eternals movement phase. So basically they just have to wipe out the Destruction Forces. And that's it, so we'll set up the board and get straight into it. Now the destruction player also gets to set up the terrain before deploying any units, so that has been done, and here is the destruction deployment seen from sort of bird's eye view.
Yeah, so I scattered the terrain all around. I put the treasure chest in the middle because it's obviously the most important piece. And I put out the Loon Boss and the Hobgrots to sort of screen, so the Stormcast deploy further away from my ranged units. Hopefully they'll be able to fall back and defend that way. And apparently the Loon Boss is expendable, since it doesn't matter if he dies. And then everyone else is clustered around the middle, largely around the Shaman and the Sloggoth, so we form some sort of defensive line.
But with that, we'll be on to Stormcast turn 1. So I start with one command point for going first, but I don't get another one for my general because it's not on the battlefield yet, and I can't do a heroic action either because I don't have any heroes on the battlefield yet. You know, the Lord Imperator will be my general, incidentally.
Yeah, so my dirty trick is going to be Noisy Racket, and Killer Boss will be my general, and I'll just do heroic leadership with him. And apparently we've been doing that wrong, so what we'll do is on the overlay I'll just put like a +1 after the command points to tell you when heroic leadership is in effect.
Yes, it goes away at the end of the player turn, not to the end of the battle round, so we haven't been doing that wrong, but we'll do it right from now on.
Yeah.
So thank you to whoever it was pointed that out.
So heroic leadership on 4+. I do, so you get +1 for the Killer Boss. We'll do that.
And we'll also put a little token next to the Killer Boss to remind us that only he can use that command point as well. We're straight to the end of my movement phase because that's when everything actually ends up being deployed. So the bulk of my force is here on this sort of bottom right corner. Deployed the Lord Imperator first because once he's on the battlefield he can then use his ability to allow something to deploy within 7. So he's using that on the Praetor, so you can see to the left there. They don't get to do any bodyguarding in this game because there were no heroes on the battlefield at the start of the first battle round, so I wasn't able to use it. And then in front of the Lord Imperator are the Vindictors, so we've got Gareth Steel Soul and the Night Arcanum near them, and the Lord Aquilor up to the sort of centre right of the board. And moving over to the other side, we've got Xandar's Truth Seekers in the sort of centre left, nearest to Sloggoth, and up in the top left corner is the Stormstrike Chariot facing off against the Loon Boss. Then we move to the shooting phase. I'm going to start with the Lord Aquilor. I think the only thing he's in range of is the Hobgrots. So 4 shots on 3s. 2 hits, and winning on 4s because there's a noisy racket going on. Well, there's 2 6s anyway, so just 2 dead because it's a rend. Yeah. Lux and Storm Rider will go next from the Truth Seekers, shooting at the Bolt Boys. 3 shots on 2s, 6s do mortal wounds instead. No, 4 mortal wounds and a hit, which doesn't wound. And the Bowman on the Chariot will just try and finish off the boss. Hits once, and wounds on 4. Yes.
Nice and red, so only got the Bolt Boy boss left on 1 wound.
And we've got Gardas and the Lord Imperator left. They're both going to attack the Gut Rippers, but we'll do Gardas first. I'll roll them both at the same time because they're all going to be the same rolls. So 9 shots between the 2 of them. Hitting on 3s, and 5 hits wounding on 4s because of the racket. 2 wounds.
2 6+ saves. Nope, who's a Gut Ripper?
And that brings us on to the charge phase, at the start of which we've got Scare Shields.
Yep. Scare Shields are going to go on the Praetors. They're probably actually the only unit in range. 2d6 +8, +1, so 4 is not going to be enough.
Then the Praetors are going to charge the Gut Rippers. This is the important one, so this is where I want to potentially use my reroll with Forward to Victory. But they need a 7 because thanks to the Lord Imperator. They roll a 5, so we will get to see it. So they will issue the command to themselves because they were the one making the charge roll. So I spend my command point, and we still fail to roll the 7, so the Praetors are going nowhere. So every other charge is just going to be a bonus, really. So we'll just try and do the Chariot into the Loon Boss. Needs to roll a 9. Nope. We'll do the Lord Aquilor next. He rolls an 8, that's not enough either. I'll try with Garda Steel Soul next. And he rolls a 2, so definitely not in. I'll do the Vindictors over there as well. Nope. Not sending the Night Arcanum in by herself, so we'll just try with the Truth Seekers last. They roll an 8, so nobody makes their charge, because everybody needed 9s. So no charges going off, we're just on to Battle Shock.
Yep, so the Gut Rippers lost 1, so they lose another. Bolt Boys lost a 2. Oh, he doesn't run away for once. And the Hobgrots lost 2. So they would lose, I think, the Bravery 4. 2 more. So that would be 2 more. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah. So a couple more run away, but otherwise that's all we achieved this turn. I'm not sure the Stormcast were fully prepared for this assault. So we've gone to Destruction turn 1. So we get some more command points because our generals are now both on the battlefield.
I'm going to say it's the Loon Boss's finest hour.
And I'm going to do Heroic Leadership with the Lord Aquilor, I think. He gets it.
So in the hero phase, the Shaman's going to give a potion to the Gut Rippers. It gives them +1 armour. And then he's going to try and cast Summon Boggy Mist. 5 isn't enough. So, in my movement phase, everyone's basically moved away from the main bulk of the Stormcast force. Most of the units have run. I issued at the double for the killer boss. Otherwise, the Shaman, the Gut Rippers, and the Hogwarts all ran. The remaining Bolt Boys moved up normally. It gets him within 12 of the Chariot. The Loon Boss has gotten closer to the Chariot, and so has the Marsh Crawler. I'm going to leave the Kill Bow where it is. You can see I've left a little channel for it to move, so if the Stormcast get to go first, I can still have it redeploy and have a little bit of screening. And then in the shooting phase, it will shoot at the Chariot. So we have one shot hitting on a 2, 6s do mortal wounds instead. It hit. Wounds on a 3. No, it doesn't. And the Bolt Boy will shoot at the Chariot as well. Same, hitting on 4s because he moved, so he uses the hasty shot. I get 2 shots. Hit once and didn't wound. I should have had an extra shot in there, which hit and wounded. Huzzah!
4+ save.
And then we're on to the charge phase. I'll start with the Loon Boss who will charge the Chariot. Need something that's not too low. Oh, yeah, 12's definitely in. And the Sloggoth will try and charge as well.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out I can't use Unleash Hell with the Chariot because it can't issue commands to itself.
A decent roll for the Sloggoth. Oh, an 11. It's definitely enough. And then I think I'll pick the Loon Boss to fight first. He probably won't kill the Chariot, but it stops him getting run over by it, by its counterattacks. The Loon Boss has 5 attacks hitting on 2s because the Sloggoth gives him +1 to hit. And they all hit. No benefit for 6s. And then he wounds on 2s because it's his finest hour. That's 5 wounds at -1, I believe.
And 4s. We made 4 of them.
So just 1d3 damage for 1.
The Chariot will attack the Sloggoth because it hasn't fought yet and it's the Loon Boss's finest hour anyway. So 3 attacks with the axe on 3s, 2, and 4s because of the noisy racket. Still turn 1, so 1 wound anyway.
5+. Yes.
And 6 attacks from the Gryph charges, hitting 5 times. Also wounding on 4s. Just 1, the noisy racket definitely saved it there.
And 6+. No. So that's 1 damage, so it's down to 11. Then the Sloggoth, do the crew first. It's got 3 attacks on 3s. 3.
Usually 4 attacks.
Sorry, 4 attacks on 3s, getting 3 hits. And then wounding on the 4s, hitting 1 at no rend.
Oh, takes another damage.
And then the Sloggoth itself, 4 attacks on 2s. So it's 4 hits. And 3s to wound. 3 wounds at -1.
4s. You failed 1.
So that's 2 more damage, it's down to 8 wounds.
But that will be it for the end of Destruction turn 1. So we're rolling off for the next battle round.
Oh, I won the roll, so I will choose to go first.
So on to Destruction turn 2.
So in my heroic action, I do heroic leadership with the killer boss. I didn't get it, that's good, I had no plan for it.
And I'll do heroic leadership with the Claw Crow again, I suppose. No, he doesn't get it either.
The Marsh Crawler Sloggoth heals on a 4+. It does. D3, so back up to 4. And the Shaman is going to give a potion to the Gut Rippers again, and then he's going to try and cast Boggy Mist. A 6 is not enough. So, yeah, movement phase, Loon Boss and the Sloggoth are going to stay in combat, and everyone else is actually just going to adjust the Shaman there. He didn't run quite as far, so he stays near the Gut Rippers. Otherwise, everyone ran, and I issued at the double to the Kill Bow, so it gets out of the way. Incoming Stormcast now. Doesn't get to shoot, but usually doesn't do very much. So we've just got the Bolt Boy boss shooting with his hasty shot. 3 shots on 4, 6 to do mortal wounds. Got 1 hit. Wounds on 3. Yep, that's 1.
Goes through.
Into 6. So we're through to the fight phase where I'll do the Loon Boss again. Might not be his finest hour anymore, but he still hits on 2s. Yep, 5 attacks all hit. Wounding on 3s. 4 wounds.
4s to save. Failed 2 this time.
2d3 damage. 5. It's down to 1.
We'll try and damage the Sloggoth again. So the axe first of all. Hits 3 times. And wounds 3 times. The noise racket is gone now.
Yep, 5+ saves. A 2.
And the Gryph charges hit all. And get 5 wounds. No, get 4 wounds.
6s. No, 4 damage. Down to 7. And the crew on the Sloggoth on 3s. Well, they all hit. Nice, and 4s. And 2 wounds. Am I at the rend nothing?
They kill it.
Killed by goblins once again.
So the chariot is destroyed, although we'll be back as we head into Stormcast Turn 2. Gain some more command points, heroic actions. Lord Aquila will try and do heroic leadership again. Still can't do it.
I'll do heroic leadership as well with the killer boss. No.
And I'll try and cast Mystic Shield. Get it with an 8.
Charms in range to unbind. No.
Put that on the Vindictors. So everything down here ran, wishing at the double to the Vindictors, apart from the Lord Aquila, of course, who was able to move normally. The Truth Seekers also moved normally. And I got a new chariot, which has deployed with Silence of the Storm 9 inches from the Hoggrots. So on to shooting. We'll start with the chariot, shooting at the Killbow. Getting 2 hits. And winning on 3, 1.
6 plus save. Get it in the box. Yeah!
Lord Aquila will have a go. That was stuck in the thing. I hit 3 times. He wounds once.
6 plus again. Ooh, not quite.
Blue Lux the Storm Rider shooting at it next from these Truth Seekers. She hits twice, no more wounds. And wounds. None. And the Lord Imperitant's baton is only in range of the Hoggrots. He only gets 1 shot, which missed. So some charges. We'll start with the chariot.
I'll do scare shields on the Truth Seekers, I suppose, because they're slightly closer. Let's see what I roll. An 8. Just going to check what their bravery is.
Well, that did work. They're in bravery 8. Then we're going to start charges with the chariot, using a 9. Oh, it gets a 10. So it gets to there.
Yeah, so it will get its lighter base here against the Hoggrots and probably steamroll most of them, but the killer boss is going to order the Killbow to unleash hell against the chariot.
So light of Azir first, hitting the Hoggrots, more wounds on 4, so they'll roll 10 dice. Oh, we only killed 3 of them. And then unleash hell, and it can shoot the chariot even though it's within 3 of the chariot because it was the chariot that charged.
Yeah, and it's not within 3 of any other enemies either. So it has 1 shot on a 3. It missed.
The Lord Aquila will charge now. He needs probably about a 7. Oh, a 2 is no good. But he'll use forward to victory because I've got some command points, so we can re-roll that. Issue it to himself, obviously. There, an 11, he's in. He makes it to there. And then we'll charge with the Truth Seekers. And they roll a 5, which is not enough. But at the end of the charge phase, we could still use the Lantern Astrala on the Gut Rippers in this case, giving me +1 to hit them. Onto the fight phase, we'll start with the chariot. It's going to put all its attacks on the Killbow. Axe gets 1 hit. Which wounds?
5 plus, 6 plus rather. Nope.
And the Gryph charges get 4 hits. Which wound twice.
It's down to 1. Well, I'll pick the Hoggrots to go before they get trampled. So we've got the boss and the drummer on the Lord Aquila. So that's 5 attacks on 3s because the Sloggoth's nearby, and 6s are 2 hits. Yep, 5 hits, wounding on 5s. We got a wound.
Or 3 plus. He's on.
And 2 attacks on the chariot, getting 2 hits and 5s.
No.
That's it.
The Lord Aquila can actually pile in 3, remaining in base contact with the Hoggrot, so putting into practice what we were talking about with piling in before. He doesn't get any further away from the closest unit, i.e. the Hoggrots, and he can then strike the Gut Rippers. So 5 attacks with his axe and sword combined, hitting on 2s because of the lantern, so that helped. We get 4 hits, and winning on 3s. Now, only 1.
And this is a 5 plus save because we've got the potions, that's +1 save. Oh, we made it.
And 3 attacks from the Gryph Charger, which all hit, and all wound actually.
Yep.
And that was 2.
Get a 6 plus save. Oh, it made 2, just 1 damage. So I've only got my units left to fight, so the Killbow can pile in along the base of the chariot, so it gets in range of the Lord Aquila. And it's got 3 attacks on 4s, 2 hits, and 4s, and 1 wound.
It's fine.
Killboss can pile in as well, so you've got 4 attacks with his boss hacker on 2s because of the Sloggoth, 6s do mortal wounds, so mortal wounds. 2 hits on 3s, 2 wounds -1.
Made the saves.
So 2 damage down to 6. And Chariot Killer hits on 3s now, so they all hit. 4s, nothing. Finally the Gut Rippers, only 7 of them can get in, so we've got 15 attacks. Hitting on 3s, 6s do mortal wounds. Only 1 mortal wound. So 1 mortal wound and 10 hits, that wound on 4s. So that's 5 wounds at
5 more 3 plus saves. Another damage. So 2 in total, he's down to 4. And finally we've got a battle shock test for the Hoggrots.
Lost 3. So they fell, 1 run away. Oh no, I'll reroll that. Still fell, 1 run away.
But that's it for the end of Stormcast Turn 2. On to battle round 3. Oh, I've rolled a 6.
I did not.
So we'll definitely be going on to Stormcast turn 3. Okay, so it's going to be the Lord of Quilor's finest hour.
It's also going to be the Killer Boss's finest hour.
And we'll try and do an Arcane Bolt, needing a 5. Hitting it with a 9.
Try and bind with the Shaman, not with a 5.
Yep, so remember we're still using the tutorial version of Arcane Bolt, so D3 mortal wounds to the Gut Rippers. 3.
2 dead.
Then for movement, we've just moved everybody towards the Destruction Forces. The Lord Imperatant and Guard of Steel Soul rounds. So we're going to shoot this turn. The 2 units in melee stayed there, and we'll do some shooting. So we'll start with the Chariot, and shoot Killer Bows here and finish off its last wound. On 3s, they both hit. And on 3s again. Got 1.
6+. No, not.
The Lord of Quilor are going to try and get rid of the 2 remaining Hobgrots, because they do have to kill every single Quilboid model. He hits only twice. He wins on 2s because it's his finest hour. Oh, that does help, so it does finish off the 2 Hobgrots. And looks like Stormbringer is going to shoot at the Loon Boss, because he's kind of the furthest thing away. He doesn't get Lookout Sir, because he's not near a unit with 3 or more models. Even though the Slogworth is quite large, so she does hit on 2s. It doesn't matter anyway. And wins on 3s. Oh, 3 wounds.
6+ save. Oh, he made one.
He's alive.
And he's got 6+ ward. So, we ignored 1 as well. So he's down to 2.
No more shooting, so there's going to be a whole lot of charges. Truth Seekers first. Yes, they're in. They'll finish there.
Yeah, and then the Bolt Boy is going to order himself to unleash hell. So he didn't make a normal move this turn, so he has to use his aim shot profile. So he has 2 shots on 3s, 6 as mortal wounds. He got a hit, that wounded.
And we made ourselves. And the Praetors roll a 4 and the Vindictors a 6, getting them into there. And at the end of the charge phase, we'll do the Lantern Strala on the Gut Rippers, I think. So everything there gets possible to get them. They'll pick the Praetors to go, and they're piled in, so they're all going to attack the Gut Rippers. So 13 attacks hitting on 2s because of the Lantern. 9 hits, wounding on 3s. 5.
5+ saves, because I've still got the potion in effect. Well, we made 1 at least. 2 Gut Rippers left. I'm going to pick the Sloroths to go. 4 attacks from the crew on 3s. Oh, they all hit. And 4s, 2 wounds.
3s, don't we take a wound?
And then 4 attacks from the Sloroth on 2s. And 3 and 3s. Oh, only getting 1.
Failed the save though, so 3 damage total. We'll do the Lord of Quilor next. He'll put all his attacks on the Killer Boss. Sword and Axe hit on 3s, getting only 2, and wound on 2s because it's finest hour. Oh, 2 2s, so that was important.
Plus saves. Made both. Good job, it was my finest hour.
And the Gryph Charger hits 3 times, and wounds on 2s, yep, 3.
Yeah, it does benefit from finest hour, I believe. 4+ saves. Made 2. He takes a wound down to 5. I'm going to risk the Killer Boss getting trampled by the Chariot. We'll pick the Gut Rippers to go, and they'll attack the Lord of Quilor. 5 attacks on 3s. That's a mortal wound. And 4 hits. 4s. Oh, no wounds, just a mortal wound.
He's down to 3. I'll do the Truth Seekers next. We're going to put all of the attacks on the Sloggoth, except for the Bird, which is going to go for the Bolt Boy boss. 5 attacks from Zandire on 3s. Only hits twice. And wounds on 3s, and 1.
5+ save. Nope, 2 damage, it's down to 5.
3 attacks from Hammer on 3s, oh dear, only 1. Which did wound.
It's -3, so it's going to go straight through. Down to 3.
Stormringer's Bowstaff is 2 attacks, which both hit, and wound on 4s. 1. No rend.
4+, nope, down to 2.
The Bird, 3 attacks, I said we're on the Bolt Boy boss, and they all hit.
4s.
And wound on 4s, just 1.
6+ armour. No.
Oh, he dies.
And I'll do the Killer Boss, my last unit to fight on the Lord of Quilor. 4 attacks with the Boss Hacker on 2s. Oh, 2 hits. 2s to wound. Yep, both wounded. -1.
It's the finest hour, so 3s because it's his finest hour. So they both passed.
Bye to Chariot Killer. Gets 2 hits. And 4s. No.
Only 2 Vindictors can get in range, but one of them is the Prime, so 5 attacks on 3s. Only hit once, but it is a mortal wound to the Gut Rippers. But actually the Lantern was on them, so it was 2s.
It's not as bad as it looked.
Yeah. Fortunately, and then we got 3 wounds on top of it.
3 5+s. Made 1. So we've got the boss left on the wound.
And the chariot will pile into the boss. It does bring the shaman in as well, which is important because he can't use the poison in his next turn. The axe only hits once. And wounds.
-1, so 3+ save, made it.
And the Gryph charges only hit twice. And get 2 wounds.
4+, they both. And the shaman's been brought in, so he's going to pile in so that both him and Stewgate can fight the chariot. 2 attacks from the staff on 2s, 2 hits, 3s to wound, 1 wound.
Failed save.
Yes, -1, so D3, 1 damage. And then 2 attacks from Stewgate on 3s, getting a hit and a mortal wound, and a regular hit wounds.
Oh, it goes through. So chariot's down to 9. And that's all the fighting, so we've just got the gut boss left needing to take a battle test.
Well, I think he lost 1 million friends, so he's just going to run away.
Well, that's the end of the turn. On to destruction turn 3.
So my heroic action, I'm going to do heroic recovery with the loom boss, but I do need to roll 5 or under. Oh, yes. D3 back. Back up to 4.
And I'll just do heroic leadership with somebody. It doesn't really matter, I've got so many command points anyway. I do get one. It would have been the Lord of Quill or...
Shaman will try and cast Arcane Bolt. Gets it with a 10.
Try and unbind, needing an 11. Nope.
D3 damage to the chariot. 2. Down to 7. Movement phase, the loom boss is going to issue out the double to himself. I mean, rules as written, it doesn't matter. The Stormcast only have to kill the cruel boys, but it's only the sneaky thing to do. And then everyone else is going to stay in melee. Also have the Slogoth's regeneration, it does, and it gets 1 back, up to 3. So no shooting, but I'm going to pick the Slogoth to fight first.
Yep, but before that, the lantern I can use again. I'll put that on the killer boss this time. Force one to hit him.
See if the Slogoth can take down any of the True Seekers. 4 attacks on 3s with the crew, getting 2. And 4s, 2 wounds at nothing.
Nope, no wounds yet.
And then the Slogoth, 4 attacks on 2s, they will hit, and 3s, 3 wounds.
4s, fail 1, so 2 damage will kill off Dora's Giant Foe. Praetor's compiling and getting 3 of them, including the prime in range of the killer boss, and then they hit on 2s with 9 attacks. Still rolling 1s. That helped, certainly.
9 attacks, 10 attacks.
Oh, that was 10 attacks, and we got 8 hits, which wound 4 times.
4+ saves, made 2, so he's still alive. And I'll do the killer boss, and he'll attack the Lord of Quillor. 4 attacks on 2s, still no mortal wounds, and 3 hits. And 3 wounds at -1.
4s. Oh, yeah, he's dead. 3 wounds. And I'll do the chariot next, therefore, attacking the Swamp Waller Shaman. The axe hits twice, and wounds twice.
6+ armour, you down to 4.
And the steeds, oh, they all hit.
Oh.
And 4 wound.
Oh, he's dead.
-2, yeah. 3 Vindictors can get in range of the killer boss, so 7 attacks on 2s because of the lantern, so that helped, although we only got 1 mortal wound. Oh, he's only got 1 wound left.
Well, we're going to push.
Right, it's technically applied at the end, so. And then 6 hits, which wound 4 times.
4+ saves. Well, I made 3, so.
Well, you failed 3.
Failed 3, sorry. So on a 6+ knee biter lives? No.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then I've got the Truth Seekers attacking the Slogoth, so Xandar, she hits 5 times this time, which is better. And, oh, she can only wound once, though. Used to sharpen her sword.
5+ made it save.
Oh dear. The bow and the bird are all the same, so they're 4 hits. Moving on 4s, oh, 2.
4 pluses, made them both.
That's the end of the battle round. On to battle round 4.
On priority, I'm going to go first.
On to destruction turn 4.
We're going to do heroic recovery with the loom boss again. Doesn't get it this time.
Heroic leadership with the Lord Imperator, but he failed. Yep.
And the Slogoth might regenerate. It does. Gets 3 back up to 6.
The Loom Boss is making a break for freedom.
Yep, they shoot out the double to himself.
End of the charge phase, we'll do the lantern on the Slogoth.
Yeah, they clearly need it. 4 attacks from the Slogoth's crew on 3s, getting 3, and 4s, getting 1.
Saved.
And the Slogoth itself on 2s, only getting 2, and 3s, nothing.
Right, can Xandar finish it off? Hits all 5 times. Wounds 3 times this time, getting better.
3 5+ saves. Oh, he dies.
Yeah.
Whichever one.
So on to Stormcast turn 4.
Yeah, we'll do heroic recovery again. We get it!
So he's up to full again, up to 5. And I'll just do the same as before. Heroic leadership with the Lord Imperator. He gets it. I'll try and do Blaze of the Heavens as our spell, needing a 7. Oh, getting it with a 7.
Yeah, should have done heroic willpower.
So D3 mortal wounds. All 3.
Oh no!
Down to 2. Oh, he has a wound. He has a ward though.
Oh yeah! Ignores on 6s. He ignored 1. Down to 3.
We've got to chase down that loon boss. The chariot has moved normally, as have the remaining truth seekers and the Lord Imperator, so they can all shoot. Everybody else ran. We just out the double on the Praetors. Well, apart from the Vindictors and Gardas, because they can just stay at the back and not do anything because they can be irrelevant at this point. As I can also run, actually, didn't show that before. And then we'll bring back the Lord of Quillor with Scions of the Storm down here, so he can't escape. So shooting Lux of Stormbringer, see if she can get him. Well, only hitting once isn't going to help. She did wound.
6 plus armour. Yes!
Well, Chariot hits twice. Doesn't wound. Lord Imperator gets 2 shots, which 1 hits and doesn't wound. Lord of Quillor only hits once and doesn't wound. So he needs to charge. He fails. We will re-roll with Forward to Victory. He still fails. Well, the Truth Seekers are actually in range to declare a charge, so they probably need about an 11, but they might as well try. Oh, a 9, that's not enough. Well, that is my turn. Didn't do any damage to the little grot at all. So we're on to battle round 5. Oh, I've won the roll-off, I think. No, I have, yes. So we'll go into Stormcast Eternals. It's going to be my new Lord of Quillor's finest hour, and it does say place a unit of the same size in the rules, so it is a new unit, not the same one as before.
And we're going to do Heroic Willpower, just in case we are being bolted.
Which we're going to try and do now. Oh, felt good. Oh, we just about cast it actually on 5.
Combined. Yes.
The Loon Boss has nowhere to run, and we're going to move to shooting. Let's do Lux of Storm Rider. Did 2 mortal wounds.
6 plus ward. Didn't ignore any. It's down to 1.
Lord of Quillor only hits once.
It's on a 2 though.
Who's on a 2 finest hour? Yes.
5 plus armour. No. 6 plus ward. No.
No. Well, it actually turned up a bit of an anticlimax, but we did get them all in the end. So it'll be a Stormcast victory, and we'll recap the game for you now. So that was the game for issue 26 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer magazine. How did you think that went?
Well, I survived a lot longer than I expected. To be perfectly honest, I expected to be fully engaged by the first or second battle round and be tabled by at least probably the end of the second battle round.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that didn't happen because I failed all of my charges, even a re-rollable 7, and then you won the turn roll-off for the second turn and ran away, and all my units ran away from all my slow units. Perhaps even if I hadn't won some of the priority rolls later, you might have even been able to hold out. If you'd got everything into the corner and then formed a wall around something at the back, I might never have got to it.
Yeah, would have helped if my kill bow did some damage once again. It's consistently disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, damage you do to most of my things doesn't matter because it comes back, but it does slow me down.
I mean, you probably should have won in the fourth battle round. It's just that your shooting was really bad.
Yes, it was atrocious. And then the Truth Seekers failing to finish off the slog off once. Well, I mean, they finished it off anyway later, so it didn't really matter. But it could have mattered if I hadn't won that turn roll off.
I mean, if you'd won priority in battle round 2, you would have easily made up for your whiffed charges anyway.
Yeah, so it was, I think a difficult scenario for Destruction to win on, to be honest, because again, I think that went about as well as it could have done for you as well with my rolling and various other things.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could spread out, put a unit in each corner of the Destruction territory and severely limit where the Stormcast can turn up, and that probably is the strategy where you have to, probably because considering you put most of your army in one spot, I was able to run away from it. Yeah,
and maybe my deployment was suspect. My thinking of putting everything there was I would hope to make at least one charge and then hold stuff in place. And then the fast thing, well, the Truth Seekers and the Chariot on the other side was supposed to try and draw the slog out of the way, so that you had the choice of being encircled or sending it out to try and deal with something and taking away your aura of +1 to hit. But that didn't matter because you were just able to move everything away. And then the Chariot got destroyed without really doing very much.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things like, the Loon Boss and the Slogos got rid of the Chariot eventually. Probably good, it was useful that you killed off the Bolt Boys or neutered them. That was pretty helpful in your case. And
yes.
All those potions from the Shaman helped. And the Killer Boss and the Gut Rippers lasted quite a long time against overwhelming odds.
So perhaps I should have spread my slow units around the board, but then the downside of that is you could just go towards one of them, completely annihilate it, and then I'd have the same problem. Staying together seemed to be...
2 new command abilities we saw quite a lot of. You never got to use Unleash Hell, but it is quite useful, even especially with Lux of Storm Rider, because she's still hitting on 3s. Or you can fish for mortal wounds with the Bolt Boys and her as well.
Yeah, actually, like Stormbringer, I will try and remember to use it with that often because it's a scary prospect to actually charge her. Yeah, I don't think I ever got to use it because I don't think you actually charged me at all in the game.
Nope.
Did you ever roll it? Didn't even roll a charge.
Oh, and I did with the Sloggoth and the Gloom Boss.
Oh yeah, you charged something right at the start that couldn't shoot anyway. And then Forward to Victory, obviously, used... Well, I think I only used it twice. It didn't work either time.
I mean, in theory, if you combine it with Sons of the Storm, guided in by the Lord Imperator, a re-rollable 7-inch charge is fairly likely to succeed. Obviously not guaranteed, but yeah, it's really handy for. And considering that you have to stay 3 inches away, if you fail a 3-inch charge, you can re-roll it. Basically guarantees a charge in that case. It is something we'll see a lot of.
Yeah, it's very useful. It's also giving us some things to actually spend our command points on again.
Yeah, we got 2 new paints with this issue. The painting guide was very short in this issue, so we're not actually seeing the most of them. So we'll have to wait a little bit. I'll probably talk about Gryph-hound Orange when it comes up. Khorne Red is quite a nice one. We have got Mephiston Red with this collection as well, but it's a nice alternative if you want some darker reds, I suppose.
Their red paints are generally quite good. They have good coverage as well. But anyway, I don't actually think there's all that much more to say, to be honest. So let us know what you thought in the comments below. If you've played the game, then let us know if you got on. If anyone was able to win with the destruction, we'd be interested to hear about it. Do leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.